Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when the world goes silent and all you're left with is the sound of your own heartbeat, a gentle reminder that you're still alive. And as long as you're alive, you have a choice. You can choose the easy path, the one padded with comfort and predictability, or you can choose the hard path, the one filled with challenges, uncertainty, and moments when giving up seems easier than going on. But let me tell you something from the depths of experience. It is on the hard path that you discover who you truly are. Doing hard things doesn't mean lifting mountains or conquering nations. Sometimes the hardest thing is getting out of bed when your soul is tired. Sometimes it's smiling when your heart is breaking. It's forgiving when you've been wronged and believing when the world gives you every reason to doubt. You may fall, you may break, but the cracks, they are not flaws. They are reminders that you were brave enough to feel, to try to risk being vulnerable in a world that tells you to be tough. Strength is not about never falling. It's about rising again and again with trembling hands, tear-stained cheeks, and a heart that still whispers, "I'm not done yet." You don't have to be extraordinary to do hard things, but doing hard things makes you extraordinary. So if life puts you in the dark, don't be afraid. You are not buried, my friend, you're planted. And hard things, they are the rain, the storm, and the fire that awaken your roots and stretch your soul. Let the world see that your strength was not in what happened to you, but in how you chose to respond. Do the hard things not because they are easy, but because you were born to rise. True strength is revealed through struggle. It's not about avoiding hardship, but how you rise every time life knocks you down. Hard things are not always dramatic, they're deeply personal. Sometimes the hardest battles are invisible. Getting out of bed, choosing kindness, or facing another day. Your pain can become your power. What breaks you can also build you. The cracks let the light in. You are not buried, you are planted. Difficult times are not the end, they are the beginning of growth, transformation, and resilience. Do hard things to discover who you really are. The easy road won't teach you what you're capable of. Discomfort is the classroom of courage. You don't need to be extraordinary to begin, but doing hard things will make you extraordinary. The journey shapes you. Every step forward is proof that you are stronger than yesterday. The world may look at you and see your achievements, your smile, your outer strength. But only you know the battles you fought inside. Only you know the weight of the nights you cried silently, the mornings you didn't want to wake up, the moments when giving up seemed like the easier choice. And yet, here you are, breathing, standing, moving forward. That's what makes you strong. Struggle is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It's in the middle of the storm that you learn to anchor yourself. It's in the depths of darkness that you begin to find your light. Struggle introduces you to yourself. When everything is stripped away, when you're no longer defined by titles, relationships, or expectations, you meet the raw, unfiltered version of you. And sometimes it's in that brokenness that the most beautiful version of you is born. There is something sacred about struggle. It has the power to shape you, to stretch you, and to awaken parts of you that comfort never could. A calm sea never made a skilled sailor. Likewise, an easy life never reveals your deepest strength. You don't know how powerful you are until being strong is the only choice you have. And when that moment comes, when you have no one but yourself, when you have nothing but your will to keep going, you discover an inner power that no one can take away from you. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you survived. They are reminders that you faced the storm and made it through. You may not have come out of it the same, but you came out wiser, softer, and stronger. That's the kind of strength no gym can give you, no motivational quote can teach you. It's earned, lived, felt. in every tear, in every breath, in every act of courage that didn't feel like courage at the time. So the next time life challenges you, don't run from the struggle. Don't hide your pain. Embrace it. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. Because it is in those hardest, darkest moments that the foundation of your strength is laid. And one day you will look back and realize that it was never the easy days that shaped you. It was the struggle that revealed the warrior within you. Hard things are not always dramatic, they're deeply personal. When we talk about struggle, many people imagine large, visible challenges, climbing mountains, enduring accidents, fighting public battles. But more often, the hardest things we face are the quiet ones, the ones no one sees, the ones that live inside our hearts and minds. The truth is, not all pain screams. Some pain whispers. It sits with you at breakfast. It follows you through the day. It hides behind your smile. And sometimes, doing the hard thing means simply surviving that pain with dignity and grace. There are days when the hardest thing is getting out of bed. It may sound small to someone who hasn't felt that weight, but for those who have, it takes every ounce of strength. Waking up with a heavy heart, forcing yourself to put one foot in front of the other, pretending you're okay when everything inside you said, these are the invisible battles that define courage. Just because it isn't loud doesn't mean it isn't brave. Just because the world can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't count. Sometimes the hardest thing is showing up for yourself, for your family, for life. When your energy is gone, when your motivation has disappeared, and when hope feels like a fading shadow still, you choose to show up. And that in itself is heroic. We celebrate big victories, but we often forget the quiet strength it takes to simply keep going. And sometimes that's all you can do. Keep going. One breath at a time. There are moments in life when you're surrounded by people, yet you feel completely alone. And in those moments, the hardest thing might be choosing not to give up on yourself. To not shut down, to not push everyone away, to hold on to the tiny, fragile belief that things can get better, even when the evidence around you says otherwise. This is where real resilience lies, not in grand gestures, but in the silent decision to keep believing in the possibility of healing. Other times, the hardest thing is letting go of a person, of a dream, of a version of life you held on to for too long. Letting go isn't weakness, it's strength. It means you've accepted what is instead of clinging to what was. It means you've chosen peace over pain, growth over comfort. That's not easy. It takes a heart that has suffered, but is still willing to choose hope. Hard things often have no witnesses. There's no audience, no applause, no recognition. But that doesn't make them any less real. You may not receive awards for the nights you spent comforting yourself. No one may ever know how you talked yourself out of your darkest thoughts. But those moments are the true essence of bravery, the kind that transforms you from the inside out. We live in a world that values visible success, but never forget that the greatest victories are often the invisible ones. The quiet strength, the inner battles, the choice to continue even when it feels impossible. You may not always feel strong, but strength isn't about feeling, it's about doing, about choosing, about staying. So when you feel like your struggle is small, remember this: hard doesn't have to be loud to be real. Your personal pain, your silent progress, your everyday courage, it all matters. You matter. And in choosing to face your private battles with patience and compassion, you're already doing the hardest and most important thing of all your healing. And that, my friend, is something powerful. Your pain can become your power. These words may seem impossible to believe when you're in the middle of suffering. When your heart is aching, your dreams are shattered, or your trust has been broken, it's hard to imagine that anything good can come from your pain. But if you look closely, if you choose to lean in instead of running away, you'll begin to see that pain is not just something that happens to you, it's something that can shape you, refine you, and awaken the strength that was sleeping inside you. Pain introduces you to parts of yourself you didn't know existed. You learn how much you can carry. You learn that even with a broken heart, you can still love. Even with fear, you can still move. Even with loss, you can still grow. And in choosing to face your private battles with patience and compassion, you're already doing the hardest and most important thing of all your healing. And that, my friend, is something powerful. Your pain can become your power. These words may seem impossible to believe when you're in the middle of suffering. When your heart is aching, your dreams are shattered, or your trust has been broken. It's hard to imagine that anything good can come from your pain. But if you look closely, if you choose to lean in instead of running away, you'll begin to see that pain is not just something that happens to you, it's something that can shape you, refine you, and awaken the strength that was sleeping inside you. Pain introduces you to parts of yourself you didn't know existed. You learn how much you can carry. You learn that even with a broken heart, you can still love. Even with fear, you can still move. Even with loss, you can still grow. Pain doesn't ask for permission, it enters your life suddenly, like a storm, shaking everything. But after the storm, you're never the same. If you let it, pain can leave you softer, wiser, and stronger. There's a sacred kind of transformation that happens when you walk through darkness and choose not to let it turn you bitter. When you sit with your wounds and allow them to teach you instead of define you, the world may try to tell you that pain is weakness, something to hide, something to be ashamed of. But the truth is, your pain is evidence that you've lived deeply, that you've cared enough to hurt, that you've dared enough to fall. The most powerful people are not the ones who have never suffered. They are the ones who have been broken and still choose to be kind. They are the ones who have been through hell and came back carrying buckets of water for those still stuck in the fire. They are the ones who use their pain not as a prison, but as a platform. They turn their wounds into wisdom. They use their story to light the path for someone else. You see, when pain enters your life, it gives you two choices. It can break you down or it can break you open. When it breaks you down, you become smaller, you close off, you build walls. But when it breaks you open, something beautiful happens. You begin to see the world differently. You begin to feel more deeply. You begin to connect more authentically. That's when pain becomes power, not because it disappears, but because you choose to rise in spite of it. You don't have to wait for the pain to be over to find meaning in it. You don't have to be fully healed to be powerful. Even in your most vulnerable state, you can be a source of strength. Even in your most broken moment, you can choose to keep going. That choice to keep breathing, to keep loving, to keep showing up is the beginning of transformation. No one escapes pain, but not everyone allows pain to grow them. If you're carrying hurt, if you're walking through something heavy right now, know this: it is not the end of your story. It is the part where your character is being built, where your courage is being shaped. One day, the very thing that tried to destroy you will become the thing that empowers you to lift others up. So don't hide your pain. Don't run from it. Honor it. Learn from it. And when you're ready, turn it into something beautiful, into compassion, into art, into purpose. Because your pain, when held with grace, has the power to become the most powerful part of you. You are not buried, you are planted. These words carry a quiet strength, a hidden truth that often only makes sense in hindsight. When life pushes you down, when everything goes dark, when you feel like you've been forgotten, It's easy to believe that you've been buried, crushed under the weight of disappointment, grief, or failure. But there's another way to look at it. What if this darkness isn't the end, but the beginning? What if you haven't been buried, but planted, placed in the soil, not to disappear, but to grow? Seeds begin their journey in silence. They are dropped into darkness, covered in dirt, completely isolated from the light. But beneath the surface, something miraculous is happening. The seed is breaking open. It's not being destroyed, it's being transformed. In the same way, when life covers you in darkness, it may not be to end you, but to prepare you. That breaking you feel inside, that's not the end of you. It's the start of something deeper, something rooted. There are moments in life when everything you knew begins to fall apart. Plans fail. People leave. Dreams shatter. And in those moments, it's natural to feel lost. You may feel like you've hit rock bottom, like all the doors have closed. But sometimes hitting rock bottom is exactly where you need to be, because that's where you find your foundation. That's where you discover what truly matters. That's where you stop chasing and start listening to your soul, your truth, your purpose. Growth is not always visible. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. The roots grow before the stem rises. And those roots, they go deep, so that when the time comes to rise, you're not easily shaken. That time in the dark, as painful as it may be, is doing important work. It's strengthening you, humbling you, and anchoring you for what's coming next. People may not understand your process. They may look at your silence, your stillness, and assume you've given up. But growth doesn't need to be loud. Healing doesn't always show itself on the outside. What matters is that you keep going, even if all you can do is breathe through the pain. Trust that what feels like an ending is actually a sacred beginning. You see, being planted is a promise, not a punishment. It means you're being prepared for something greater. But the process is not easy. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely. You'll want answers. And sometimes all you'll have is faith. But hold on. Because the moment will come when the darkness lifts, when the soil cracks, and when the first sign of green breaks through. And then you'll understand all that time you thought you were buried, you were actually becoming. Sign of green breaks through. And then you'll understand all that time you thought you were buried, you were actually becoming. There's a strength that grows in the dark. A kind of resilience that only develops when you've walked through the night without losing your light. When you rise from that kind of place, you rise differently. You rise with depth, with gratitude, with grace. You no longer just exist, you live fully, knowing what it means to start over from nothing. So if you're in a season of darkness, don't lose hope. Don't mistake the silence for absence or the pain for punishment. Trust the process. Trust that every season has a purpose. Because you are not buried, you are planted. And when the time is right, you will bloom in a way that no one saw coming, not even you. Do hard things to discover who you really are. Life has a way of revealing our truest selves, not in comfort, but in challenge. It's easy to believe we know who we are when everything is going smoothly, when the skies are clear, when people applaud us, and when nothing feels out of place. But it's in those moments when everything falls apart, when we're forced to face what we fear, that we begin to see who we truly are beneath the surface. Hard things have a strange kind of wisdom. They don't just test your patience or your endurance, they reveal your character. They strip away the noise, the masks, the distractions, and show you what you're really made of. You may think you're not brave, not strong, not capable until you're placed in a situation where you have no other choice but to be exactly that. And then, without even realizing it, you begin to meet a version of yourself you didn't know existed. Doing hard things is not about punishment or pain. It's about becoming. It's about walking through fire and coming out forged, not burned. Every time you choose to take a step into discomfort, to speak up when it's easier to stay silent, to stay when it's easier to leave, to fight for your dreams when giving up would be simpler, you uncover a deeper part of yourself. You find your values. You learn what truly matters to you. and you learn that you are far more capable than you once believed. Growth never happens in the comfort zone. We can read about courage. We can talk about strength. But those things don't become real until we live them. Until we feel fear and move anyway. Until we feel like giving up and decide to take one more step. The path of doing hard things is not a straight line. It's full of detours, setbacks, and doubts, but every part of the journey matters. Every scar, every tear, every small victory, it all shapes you. You might feel alone on that road. You might wonder if it's worth it. But here's the beautiful truth: you're not just doing the hard thing for the outcome, you're doing it for the person you're becoming in the process. And that person is stronger, wiser, and more resilient than the one who started the journey. When you look back on your life, it won't be the easy moments that define you. It will be the moments when you were terrified and still took the leap. The moments when you were exhausted and still showed up. The moments when you were broken and still chose to love, to believe, to continue. These are the moments that carve your identity, that give your story its meaning. Don't fear the hard things. Embrace them. Let them challenge your limits. Let them humble you. Let them teach you. Because on the other side of the struggle is clarity, a deeper understanding of your purpose, your values, and your strength. You are not here to live small. You are not here to stay safe and hidden. You are here to rise, to stretch, to grow. Doing hard things won't always feel good, but it will always move you closer to the truth of who you are. And that truth, that raw, unshakable strength that lives inside you, is what will carry you through anything life puts in your path. You don't discover that in ease, you discover it in effort, and that discovery changes everything. You don't need to be extraordinary to begin, but doing hard things will make you extraordinary. This is something many of us forget. We wait. We wait to feel ready, to feel brave, to feel talented. To feel like we have something special before we take the first step. But greatness doesn't begin with greatness. It begins with a decision, a quiet, often uncertain decision to show up, to try, to keep going even when you don't know what you're doing or where it's leading. We are surrounded by stories of success and excellence, but what we rarely see is the beginning of those stories. We don't see the fear, the failures, the countless hours spent doubting. We only see the highlight reels, and so we convince ourselves that we're not enough to start. But every extraordinary person you admire once stood exactly where you are, uncertain, insecure, and afraid. They didn't wait to feel extraordinary. They just started. And with each hard thing they did, they grew into the person they were meant to become. It's not the talent or the perfect plan that transforms people, it's their willingness to face discomfort. It's their decision to keep showing up on the days they feel small, tired, or invisible. Doing hard things doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you're willing to be afraid and try anyway. That's the kind of bravery that changes people. That's the kind of discipline that sharpens a soul. You don't need to be perfect to start, you just need to start. And then slowly, through the challenges, through the effort, something begins to shift. You learn to trust yourself. You learn to navigate failure. You learn that you can be rejected and still rise. You learn that even on your worst day, you're capable of resilience. That kind of learning doesn't come from reading or watching. It comes from doing. It comes from stepping out of your comfort zone and being willing to fall and get back up. There is something powerful about choosing the hard road when the easy one is available. There's something transformative about pushing through the resistance, about refusing to settle for what's convenient. Because in those moments, you begin to uncover your true strength. Not the kind that is loud or flashy, but the quiet, steady strength that comes from discipline, self-belief, and purpose. Every hard thing you do shapes you. It sharpens your character, it deepens your empathy, and it expands your capacity to handle life. You begin to realize that excellence isn't something reserved for a chosen few. It's built by ordinary people who commit to the difficult, who persist through the boring, who keep going long after the motivation fades. The more you embrace the challenge, the more you begin to reflect the extraordinary resilience that lives inside of you. So don't wait until you feel extraordinary to start. Don't wait until everything makes sense. Take the first step. Be willing to look foolish. Be willing to fall short. Because the journey itself is what will build you. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about uncovering the strength that was always there, hidden beneath fear, self-doubt, and hesitation. Doing hard things is never about proving something to the world. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about saying, I may not know the outcome, but I will show up anyway. And in that commitment, in that courage, you become something extraordinary, not because you were born with it, but because you chose it one difficult step at a time.